Okay, so we're going to move on to cylinders now. Although, check this out. I did the box here, and now when I erased the this part of the box when I made the steps, I gotta finish that, right? So when you're looking at your drawing, like step back from it, you're gonna see some stuff that needs to be fixed, and yeah, take the time to do that. Go shape by shape, object by object, form by form. Finish the form, get it resolved before moving on to the next thing, okay? All right, so what am I gonna do here? I am going to put a cylinder over here. That cylinder is gonna be sticking out of this thing, I guess. So job one is to start with something that looks like it could be a square. Okay, I've got to get that so that it's believably going off to those vanishing points. Again, the more right decisions I make, the easier this becomes, because I've got a lot of good lines that are going out there. So a good cylinder starts with a good square. So I gotta look at this thing. You know, again, looking at that, it's too narrow. Looking at this out here, probably too wide. Somewhere in there, there's my happy place. Find your happy place. Okay? Find the place that's in square land. Step back from it, look at it. That's pretty light. Hope you guys can see that. I think you can see it. I think that looks okay. Just to make sure that you guys can see it, I'll darken it up a bit. Again, I'm using my ruler. Whoops. For a good siding tool. I'm gonna screw that up. Hold on here. Come here. Straighten up and fly right line. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It looks okay, although it's kind of bugging me that it is not necessarily lined up with the center of this thing. You know, it's not lined up with the center of that either. It's just this thing that's kind of stuck on there. So if I wanted to center this, first of all, the center of this thing is not the same as the center of this thing. I could look at it and say, hey, it's a good square, let's just go with it. I could say, you know what, I'd really like to center it with one of these things. And the way that I would, of course, center it would be Chris, cross, bring that over, and then shoot that up, right? So this thing's a long ways from center. Long, long, long ways from center as far as these steps are concerned. If I wanted to set it up, if I wanted to center it with the steps, that's what I would do. Whoops. No, I sort of missed. Hold this thing, get it right, find that center. You know, then I'd have to crisscross this to find the center of it and make sure, you know, I could push that thing over. If I wanted to center it on this thing, again, it would be about cross, find that center, bring it down here, bring it down, okay? That's how I would center that. You know what I'm going to do, though? I'm not going to do either one of those things. Just for the sake of time, I want to show you how to do, I mean, you already know how to do a cylinder because I spent a fair amount of time beating it into you, but you might not have been very good at it when you did it. Like I said at the time, there weren't a whole lot of those that were super strong. Some of you did a better job than others on those. The thing is, if you felt like, oh man, you know, that did not work out so well that first time, or if that's kind of the feedback that you got from me, because a fair, let's see, at least a measurable fraction of you really struggled with that, that doesn't mean that you can't do it now, okay? That doesn't mean that you're not going to do a good job now. The thing is, we're getting better at this, and you should expect that, you know, just because you couldn't do it some weeks ago, that you can't do a good job with it now, okay? Keep that in mind. Like, the stories that we tell ourselves are pretty important. Okay, so I'm drawing a whole box here. I got to get a believable box. Again, believable cylinder needs to have a believable box. Bring this thing out here, and again, each decision I'm making here, I'm looking at all the lines that I've got in there already, and I'm doing my best to make sure that the lines I'm drawing are making sense. Now, would this thing be better if I had centered it on the steps? Maybe. Maybe. It's that those steps would have had a relationship with this thing. Or if I had centered it on the center of that inclined plane, you know, it might have been better. That's not what I'm doing though. Okay, so check this out. Holding this thing up there, it's not landing exactly where I want it to. So I'm going to check this again, see if I can bring that over some. You know, about the most I can bring that over is going to be about right there. Just finding. Okay, so that's almost as much as I wanted it to be. That's got to, from here, come up here. Can I bring this thing out that far? Or can I bring this thing up to find it? I can't bring that up much farther. I can bring it up only about, you know, it's located where it ought to be. I can't really. So what that means is, can I then bring this guy out there to meet it? Yes, I can. Hooray. So, you know, sometimes you got to squeeze the balloon in one place to move it over there, but the thing is, you got to keep in mind is you squeeze the balloon in one place, it bulges out in another. So a whole lot of the time you got to sit back from it, look at it. Does it look okay? Once you've got it looking okay, then you know, can I buy both of these, this square and this square, for squares? This is the one that's the least foreshortened, so that's the one where I really got to you know, I've got to base my decisions on that. This one over here, where it's really foreshortened, I mean, it could be a square, it might not be a square. It's just hard to tell when it's really foreshortened. Okay, so here we go, friends. Just to review, all that business about making you draw cylinders, it's about getting you to be able to do it here when we're actually doing a drawing. And most specifically on the next drawing that we do this upcoming week, right? It's about that. That's the thing. I'm about to teach you the most important thing for this semester. It's the whole, it's the big idea of the semester. And this is the prelude to it, okay? Stepping back from it, looking at it. Where does this line go? You have to pay attention to every single one of these. It has to look like it's going to the vanishing point. You have to step back from it. If you've got these lines just going willy-nilly off to wherever, yeah, your drawing's not going to look right. Choose wisely, my young friends, my young charges. Choose wisely. Where does the line go? Diagonals. They are your friends. Okay, I'm going to sharpen this. I found the 4 points where this thing is going to touch. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with microcurves. Remember that? What would that curve look like if it's only touching in that one place? Touches here. Again, remember you can spin this thing around. In fact, I would recommend it. So, if it's only touching here and it's only touching here, believe it or not, there's really only one curve that will do that. I realize this is review. I bet you guys could use a little review on this, okay? Draw the front long side and the back long side first. That is my advice. What would that curve look like that just starts in one point and goes and touches that other point? It just kisses that line in that one place. Let me just firm this up a little bit so you can see it. Man, I am rusty. Just got here to the studio. My hand does not want to do what I'm asking it to do. Those naughty hands. Idle hands are the devil's tools. Don't know why I said that. Seems like something somebody would have said back in the 20s. Okay, so check it out. I've got part of the ellipse, and in my mind, I'm going to start to try to complete that. What would it look like? That ellipse in there. You know, if I throw the ball from one point and I bring it down and it touches in the other place, and it crosses this about 2/3 of the way from the middle. It's a curve. Draw it light. Starts in one place. It's not a football. It's not a potato. It's not a hot dog. All that 2-point perspective business was to get us to this point. Okay. Ooh, this is low. Can he draw it? Maybe. The next one's going to be even lower. Anyways. Squatting down here to draw this thing. Suppose I could lift it up. You guys can see what I'm doing, sort of, kind of. I'm trying to not let that hug that line quite so much. Step back from it, look at it. Do I like the ellipse? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I should do this for a living. Okay, so just reminding myself, which 4 points am I talking about? Talking about this point and this point, drawing those little microcurves, the Brad's-Law microcurve method. Okay, what would that curve look like? Draw the front and the back first. This is a little bit, no, I don't love this. Turning the sucker upside down, just easier ergonomically to draw this one. I'll probably have to draw it. Okay, thing has to go like that. Starts in one place. Ends in another. Don't make it too fat, Brad. Don't make it too fat. Just make it smooth. Starts in the one place. Comes over that away. See, what's bugging me is the edge of this thing. Also, all of your collective eyes judging me from out there in the internet. You call it an ellipse? Your mom draws ellipses. That is some shaky stuff, Slaw. Come on, don't be lame. Okay. Get rid of that fuzzy stuff. Now I gotta draw this guy. This is so low, I can't stand it. Anyways. It's coming out here. What does the parabola look like? That starts in that place and comes to this one. Start really light. That looks kind of okay. This is perhaps not the best ellipse I ever drew. Watching Brad draw ellipses. The YouTube sensation that broke the internet. Fastest car on the information superhighway. Okay, check it out. Stepping back from it, does that ellipse look okay? Does that ellipse look okay? Yeah, you know, it's kind of okay. I mean, I think it's all right. This one, there's something about this one I'm not quite entirely sure about. Here's the next thing, though. Here's how I check my math. Okay. These two ought to, if I've done everything right, go off there to my vanishing point. That looks pretty good. It's all right. It's not, makes me think that this one out here could come down a little bit farther. When I look at that, it kind of feels like it needs to. That was a little bit. But those two have to make sense. This line has to connect. Both of those ellipses. You got to look at both of them. And I probably have to, you know, make some adjustments here. Might have to smooth things out a little too. You know, at some point I got to think about line quality. I'm holding this thing up there. Does it go where it needs to go and connect these two? It's got to do both things. If it's not, then I got to, you know, double check. Got to check my math. Okay, so now the thing to do would be for me to, well, what I want to do is I want to get rid of all the scaffolding. Okay, and I want to erase all the things that I wouldn't see. I really need to grab that Tough Stuff eraser stick, or the BM2 eraser stick. This one's a little bit thick. I want to get rid of all the stuff that I don't need. I've drawn those ellipses all the way through, and I'm erasing the back half. If that rings a bell. Erasing the back half of this back one. And I'm erasing the box that I used to create the whole thing. I'm going to erase the diagonals and the midpoint lines. I erase some of this. I'm erasing the part of the steps that are now overlapped. So you really need to, you got to draw those boxes. If you want this to look right, you got to do that. You can't just willy-nilly just draw, you know, a couple of ellipses, because they'll look crappy. It'll look like you wung them, because that's exactly what you did. You just wung that puppy. Okay, so now what I have to do is I got to come in here and I got to firm up all my lines. And I'm going to draw them. I'm going to freehand them. I think I'll do that off camera, so you don't have to watch me do all that. This thing I just did was long enough anyway. Okay? All right. I'll be back in a bit. Bye.